back to Exhaust Sports Auto. Today's video is going to be a little bit different, but if you're new here, I usually do 4K HDR car reviews for YouTube. So if you would like to see some more of that, please consider subscribing. But in this video, I decided to make, I guess, a vlog, but more so of a tribute, I guess, before this car goes away, of basically one of my most favorite cars that I have driven as of recently. And yes, that is the 2019 Mazda Miata. This particular car is the Roadster, and it's in the Grand Touring trim. However, this car and like some old Mercedes E55 thing, these two have been my two most favorite cars that I have driven as of recently. So for those of you who may not know any better, who aren't huge car enthusiasts, you might be thinking, oh, what's so great about this little rattle box? Well, on the surface of it, yes, it's a tiny little thing. It doesn't have a whole lot of prestige, but just look at it. I mean, look at those little headlights. They look like human eyelids kind of squinting like it's angry. It's got an attitude. That's what I love about it. It's a little car with an attitude. Like, it's always angry at everything. And it sounds angry too, especially when you get this thing revved out. This little four-cylinder sounds fantastic. You know, it is just a four-cylinder, and obviously I'm sure people who know anything about anything know that this car for 2019 got a horsepower bump, and it got a higher RPM, 7,500 RPMs. And man, this thing, it loves to scream its nuts off. It's the most satisfying thing in the world. And that's a great segue, you know, it's satisfying. Why is that? It's because for the last 20, 30, 1,000 years, however long this thing has been out, since the inception of the Miata, it's been known for one thing and one thing only: driving. There is no distractions with this. There's actually not even a glove box with this car. That's how focused it is. Driving, lightweight, that's it, and being nimble. Those are the only things that matter to the Miata, and part of why it's so good, it's because it only has that duty in mind. Like a Prius, let's just say. It's got nothing to do with this. However, why is the Prius so successful? It's because it's focused on what it does. It's an economy car. Whether you love it or hate it, I don't know why people hate it. I mean, it's just an economy car for soccer moms or, you know, whatever moms to, you know, get to point A to point B. And it does that job extremely well, and that's why it's successful. Same thing with this. They've sold over 1 million of these things since it came out. Why is that? It's because there's really nothing else out there like it. And yeah, Toyota tried with the FRS, and honestly, that's a great car. However, it's not the same as this. You know, this is it's a Roadster, or you get a hardtop RF, which I really like that car too. I already did a review on it if you want to see. And for the most part, it's a fairly attainable car. You know, if you have a job, like, you know, you can get a base model of this car for like 26 grand, a Roadster that is, with cloth seat. But if you want more of a refined experience, you know, if you get like an RF or even this car in the Grand Touring model, which that's what this is, it's going to run you about 34, 35 grand, and that's pricey, I admit. However, again, there's nothing else that's this focused. I mean, what are you going to get, a Porsche? I mean, that's going to cost double what this thing costs, a Boxster even. So this is really it as far as obtainable cars that gives you a great sensation driving it on the streets, because that's what this is. It's a street car. That's what everything is. That's what a McLaren is. That's what a Mustang is, a Camaro is, a Corvette. All these cars are street cars. However, you know, I recently did do a review on the Mustang, and it's a great car. It's a fantastic car. It's a lot of fun. However, the biggest problem with that car is it's near 500 horsepower, and you just feel suffocated driving that thing. And that's because you pay that much money for a car. It's got almost 500 horsepower. What do you want to do? You want to drive the thing. You want to floor it everywhere you go. But the problem with that is you put that thing, you go through first, second, third, fourth gear, you're probably already in like triple digit speeds. And at that point, you're just going to get arrested. You're just going to be put away for life, pretty much. This, not so. I mean, you can rev its nuts off, and it loves it. It enjoys that. Even when you get the rear end out like that, even a novice driver such as myself can catch it without any real issues. And that just makes it just one of the best, like, first driver's cars that you could possibly buy into. You know, it's rear wheel drive. It's a proper driving experience. So what makes it a proper driving experience? You know, it's a rear wheel drive vehicle. That's why you can get the rear out like that. You can get some affordable hatchbacks in like the 20K range that are also fantastic. However, it will never give you that rear wheel drive dynamic that this thing does. And with the small tiny little tires that it has, you know, 205 series tires, it makes getting this thing a little out of control a lot easier. You know what I mean? It's never out of control. You can always catch it, and that's the best thing. It's a great segue into more higher horsepower vehicles. So that's another great thing. It's a fantastic first driver's car because A, it's easy to control, and B, it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. It gets fantastic fuel efficiency. Even with me driving like that, I get like 27 to 30 mpg. Parts don't cost $1 million. Like, you know, a brake job, we need to replace the rotors and pads. It's not going to be like an M car where it costs like $8,000. No. This thing is affordable not only to buy, but also to maintain it. That's what makes it key. However, I think I got a little bit distracted there with that power slide because I was talking about the Mustang and why I would actually take this over that Mustang. And that's because, you know, like I was saying, it was suffocating to drive that thing because you always want to floor it. You always want to feel like you got your money's worth. With this, you could floor it absolutely everywhere and you're only doing 45 miles per hour. But inside this cabin with this rattly little soft top, it feels like you're doing like Mach 1 speeds. 45 in this feels like 100 miles per hour in this. And that's fantastic. That's what you want. You feel like you're doing a lot here. Like even at going at 50 miles per hour right now, it feels so quick. I don't have the need to go any faster in this. It's just so satisfying for the streets where this is going to be for the most part. I mean, yeah, people do track these things, and that's the other thing. You know, you could track it if you know, put some bolt-ons on this thing, you know, did some suspension work. You can go have fun there, you know, autocross it, whatever. More importantly, I'm going to take this from a road car perspective, and it's just simple to drive, easy to place on the road because of its tiny footprint. You know, you're just never stressed out about it because it's not $1 million supercar. You're not afraid of people, you know, spitting on it or keying it or anything like that. People love you in this thing. I just saw a lady who was also driving a Miata, admittedly. She was waving at me because why? It's a Miata. That's just the culture behind this thing. Nobody hates you when you drive this. It's just a happy little angry car. That's what this is. And you just can't help but love it. And I'll touch on another thing. Right now to you, the camera might be a little shaky or whatever. And, you know, it's true. This vehicle, you know, you do feel all the bumps and stuff in here, but honestly, not in a bad way. It's actually really rather comfortable in here, believe it or not. A lot of people were saying that this thing doesn't ride that good. I would say they're wrong because this actually rides extremely well. Yeah, you feel all the bumps, but in a good driver-centric way. You know what's going on the road. And man, this manual transmission is absolutely perfect. The best manual transmission I've ever experienced in my entire life. You know exactly what gear you're in, and the clutch uptake is perfect. But yeah, anyway, the comfort is really rather good. If you want a more refined Miata driving experience, the RF Grand Touring is excellent. It's even more quiet and comfortable than this due to the higher weight, I guess. But talking about the suspension, you know, that's another thing about this. The Mustang was just a basic strut-based suspension. That's what they all are, the Camaro, Mustang, all that stuff. They drive great. However, this thing's got double wishbone suspension up front and a multi-link in the rear. There are cars costing twice as much as this, 50, 60 grand, that don't even use a double wishbone suspension setup. But this does, and that's a lot of why it feels so controlled, so composed on the road. Even when you get this thing up to speeds, even with the small, tiny 205 tires, it doesn't feel like the wind ever affects it. Even at 60, 70 miles per hour, like highway speeds, it still feels rather planted in here. And I think a lot of that has to do with the way this thing is dampened, the proper suspension of it. It's just tuned perfectly for the roads. I mean, you know, you get some Toyota cars. I was actually complaining about this in the RAV4 and the Corolla. They feel terrible under high speeds, like 60, 70 miles per hour. They start to buff it. The wind really affects it. Well, you only get some wind noise in here. However, driving it, you never lose confidence in this thing. That's a big deal with the driver's car. Driving wise, it's pretty much perfect. So that's kind of really why I love this car so much. I mean, and you know, like I was saying, if you want a more comfortable experience, the RF hardtop Grand Touring exists. Yeah, it's going to cost you like 35 grand. However, no other car is going to give you this type of a sensation. So that pretty much is going to wrap up this video. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this. If you guys are Miata owners, I would like to hear your thoughts and opinions on the car and what it's been like living with the car. But with that, thank you so much, guys, for your support. You know, I did another video of why Mazda doesn't sell too well, and I really appreciate the reaction that that video got. So there are definitely some amazing supporters out there of this channel. So like I said in the beginning, if you guys are new, consider subscribing. I usually do reviews in 4K for you guys to view, and if you find value in that, consider subscribing. But that'll be the end of this video. I just want to make this quick video on a car that I really appreciate and I loved having for the past week or so. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Miata, one of the best cars ever made, to be all the way honest with you. And with that, thank you so much for watching. Take care. Goodbye.